Okay, hello. So now that you guys have your samples, I wanted to share a couple cool things with you. And I am going to send you a couple short little videos over the next couple days just to give you a little bit of education. And this comes from my Essential Oils Made Easy class that I love to teach. And if you have an opportunity to join the class, it's an awesome experience. But in the meantime, you now have these samples. You've hopefully cracked open the bottles. If you have not, do that and just smell them, just experience them, okay? It really can be simple in regards to using the oils and just slowly building on little daily habits that are going to have massive, massive results, okay? So you've got your oils. I wanna quickly share with you three cool things about essential oils. The first thing is that they are 100% safe and natural. So there is no side effects, no addictions, no contaminants, no fillers. And this is amazing because when you start to pay attention to the products that you bring into your home, this is a journey personally that I have taken over the last couple of years where I've started to pay closer attention to some of those products. Not just the food, right? I've always focused on eating really healthy, but I didn't really think about the shampoo I used or the face wash or cleaning supplies. And the more I started to pay attention to that, the more, quite frankly, I was a little horrified. And this is not to say that to overwhelm, but it is really amazing when you can reach for a product and you know exactly what is in that bottle. A bottle of peppermint is strictly peppermint leaves, and that is it. There's nothing else added to it. And this is very specific to doTERRA Essential Oils. Okay, so it's really important for me to note here that I am not talking about any other company, and I do not suggest you go out to the mall or to the grocery store or to Costco and pick up an oil there because it is not the same. doTERRA's relentless pursuit for purity, being transparent, empowering on both sides of the bottles, supporting farmers. It's like no other company in the world. And unfortunately, oil, um, the oil industry is very corrupt. And so I'm not going to go into that today, but I just, from a safety perspective, it's really important for me to note that when I'm talking about peppermint and On Guard and internal use, we are only talking about doTERRA today. So from a safety perspective, it is amazing to know when you reach for a bottle that you know exactly what's in it. It's one ingredient. And this is phenomenal. This has been phenomenal for me and my family in trying to reduce toxic load in our home, and just really feeling confident and empowered in what I'm using and what I'm exposing my kids to. Essential oils are strictly extracts from plants that have amazing health benefits. They are actually 50 to 70 times more potent than herbs. And for example, I already mentioned peppermint, and you see an image of peppermint there. Peppermint essential oil, doTERRA peppermint essential oil, is actually one drop is equivalent to 28 cups of peppermint tea. That's how potent we're talking here. So it's really, really amazing. And that's why they can be so unbelievably effective. You think of peppermint tea, and I love peppermint tea, being very soothing for your stomach, very calming, helping with digestion. Well, imagine what one drop of peppermint oil can do for you. doTERRA's oils are certified pure therapeutic grade, which again just means that they're the most pure and potent oils you're going to find in the industry, in the world. They're grown, in the places that they grow most sustainably, that they grow most naturally, and they're super potent in the sense that doTERRA is paying attention to the chemistry. And there's something to be said about, say, lavender growing in a farm or on the side of a highway versus lavender growing naturally on the hilltops of Bulgaria. It affects the chemistry, and it's really, really interesting. And so doTERRA focuses a lot on that. We are very much a wellness and a science company. Peppermint oil, oftentimes in a class, I will walk people through the way to use peppermint. And if you have this as a sample, I highly recommend you trying it in these three ways. You can place a drop on your hand, and this is a way you can use a lot of your oils. A drop on your hand, and you're like a human diffuser. You're going to rub your hands together cup them over your face, and take a couple really big inhales and exhales. Now, the first time you do this with peppermint, don't hold it too close because it's really, really powerful. It's immediately going to open up your airways. It's going to energize you. This is such an amazing way to get that little bump of energy at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'll have you do that in a class, typically a couple big inhales. Then I will have you actually take your finger, rub your palm, and pop it on the roof of your mouth. It's immediately going to freshen up your breath. It's going to help with any indigestion or upset stomach, nausea, also very invigorating. Then you're going to take your same hands and rub them on the back of your neck. And immediately it's going to start to cool down your body, help with relieving any tension, neck tension, head tension, headaches, stress. And right there, when I walk someone through that in a class, I'm teaching them the 3 ways to use oils, which I'm going to talk about tomorrow, but we'll touch on it quickly. And that's aromatically, topically, and then internally on the roof of your mouth. So that's how simple it can be. Okay, so that's the first thing I wanted to mention, is that essential oils are 100% safe and natural. The second thing is that they are extremely effective, oftentimes more effective than modern approaches to health problems. And let me walk you through a quick example, because this was really powerful for me once I kind of understood this, and I like the science behind it. And as time goes on, there is more and more science being uncovered and discovered and written about in regards to doTERRA oils. One of the most popular oils is our On Guard product. This is a hero product. It's one of our OG products, and it is so powerful, so phenomenal, and it couldn't be more relevant today. I truly believe every single person should have this in their home. So let me explain quickly, give you one example of how this can work within your body. So when you are dealing with a bacteria issue within your body, the bacterial issue typically will always, actually not typically, sits on the outside of your cell, right? When you're dealing with a virus, it sits on the inside. It duplicates, the DNA duplicates on the inside of your cell, okay? We're made up of tons of cells. This is like biology 101. And so when you're dealing with a bacterial issue and you go to the doctor, the doctor will oftentimes prescribe you an antibiotic, right? And there's pros and cons to that. So the antibiotic will go in, it'll wipe out all the bacteria, the good and the bad. So that's the challenge with antibiotics. And sometimes it can wreak havoc on your body in other ways, but it deals with the problem, right? And so that's how it'll support for a bacterial issue. But if you're dealing with a viral issue, so if you go to the doctor and it's a virus, what does the doctor typically tell you? Go home, rest, drink plenty of water. There's nothing we can do. That's because antibiotics, water-based synthetic medications like an antibiotic, cannot penetrate that cell membrane. However, essential oils can, or doTERRA essential oils can. And On Guard is a really great example of how this can promote healthy immune function and help you proactively in staying healthy. Or if you come down with something, it's going to help you get better that much quicker because it has access to it all. Your body recognizes this versus a synthetic medication. Now, I do want to say very quickly, side note, I am not anti-medication. I am not anti-hospitals or doctors. I think we're very lucky to live in Canada and have the healthcare system that we have. I do still think it's flawed, but we are lucky in many ways. I've lived in other countries and I know enough to say that we're lucky to have access to what we have access to when we need it. It's like the 80-20 rule, or in our house, it's probably closer to 90-10. Most of the time, we do not need to rush off to the doctor and get some sort of synthetic version of medication. We have the tools we need in our home to stay healthy. Sam has never been on an antibiotic. He will be 7 years old in the new year, and he has never been. It doesn't mean that there won't come a time and a place where he might need to be. And I will always go that option or that route if we need to. We have not, Noelle started teething and I said to Jeff, hey, we should probably look into if we still have kids Tylenol or baby Tylenol. We had nothing of that in the house because we haven't used it for years. I have it here. We went out and bought it for Noelle as a backup in case she's really struggling with her teething. But of course, what do I reach for first is my essential oils, and they have been helping so wonderfully. So again, oftentimes more effective than modern approaches to health problems. So that's amazing. And that last thing I want to touch on is how affordable they can be. So I know oftentimes the initial thought is, ooh, these essential oils are very expensive. And honestly, if you're just using them as a pretty smell, yeah, they might be a little bit expensive, but if you're using them for how they were created, for therapeutic benefits to help with your overall health and well-being and smell pretty, which is great, it is extremely affordable. And in fact, it's pennies per dose. In a 15 ml bottle, you have about 280 drops. And I've already shared with you how far one drop goes of peppermint. One drop goes a long way. And in Canada here, we don't necessarily pay directly for our healthcare in the same way that other people around the world do. However, there is still a cost. And one of my favorite examples to use is when I first got started with the oils like 6 years ago with Jameson. He was getting a lot of earaches. He was really prone to bad ear infections, not just earaches, ear infections. He'd spike really high fevers. He'd pull on his ears like crazy. They would get all scabbed and he'd be super uncomfortable. We'd have to go off to the doctor. I'd have to take time off work. He'd have to take time out of daycare. We'd have to get an antibiotic, do that course of antibiotics. That would usually wreak havoc on his guts. He's always had issues with that. So then we would have to go on a probiotic. So there's a cost to that. There's a financial cost, but there's also a time cost, especially when you're taking time off work. And so when I got started with the oils, someone had said, well, you should try lavender and tea tree. You never put oils in to ears or up nose or into your eyes. But they said, just rub it around the ears. And so the next time he started to spike a fever and started to complain about his ears, at that point, I knew the signs ahead of time. I rubbed it on his ears and 24 hours later, he was completely fine. The next couple times that happened, rubbed on his ears, 24 hours later, completely fine. Never had to go back on antibiotics. And again, not to say that if it got bad enough, of course I would, but I was amazed. And then he kind of grew out of it, or for whatever reason, we haven't had a problem with that once he reached a certain age. But this was my go-to, my first line of defense. And it would, if I broke down the cost of that lavender and tea tree, we're talking pennies versus the cost that it would have cost me otherwise. So extremely, extremely affordable. So those are the three cool things that I wanted to share with you about essential oils. 100% safe and natural, extremely effective, and very affordable. And tomorrow I will send you a little note in sharing the 3 ways you can use the oils. Okay, hope that was helpful. And as always, if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to message me or ask. That's what I'm here for. Okay, thanks so much. Bye.